The Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most critical energy lifelines, has tightened under Iran's grip as the conflict involving the United States, Israel, and Iran intensifies. This narrow maritime corridor, through which nearly a fifth of the world's oil and large volumes of liquefied natural gas pass, is now at the center of a rapidly escalating global crisis. What was once a vital shipping route has transformed into a geopolitical flashpoint where economic pressure, military threats, and strategic signaling intersect. The consequences are already being felt across global markets, shipping lanes, and national economies. The current crisis began on February 28, 2026, when the United States and Israel launched military strikes against Iran. In response, Tehran moved swiftly to assert control over the Strait of Hormuz, effectively disrupting one of the most important energy corridors in the world. Iran's strategy has not been to completely shut the strait, but to control it. Passage is now selective. Ships considered neutral may pass, while those linked to the United States, Israel, or their allies face threats, delays, or outright denial. The strait is open, but not for its adversaries. This approach has created what analysts describe as a controlled corridor, where access depends on political alignment rather than international maritime norms. The impact has been immediate. Maritime traffic has plummeted. Reports indicate that daily ship movement has collapsed dramatically, with thousands of vessels either anchored or rerouted. At least 20 ships have been attacked or damaged since the conflict began, with casualties reported among crew members. Behind these numbers lies a growing humanitarian concern. Thousands of sailors remain stranded at sea, caught in a conflict they did not choose. Ships linger for weeks, crews face uncertainty, and the risks of further attacks continue to rise. Iran has also introduced a new dimension to the crisis: economic leverage. Reports suggest that some vessels have been required to pay large sums, in some cases up to $2 million, to secure safe passage through the strait. This is not merely a financial measure. It is a strategic signal. This is not just a toll. This is a message to the world. By imposing such costs, Iran is effectively transforming geography into power, using its control over the strait as a bargaining tool in a broader geopolitical confrontation. The economic consequences are already severe. Oil prices surged above $100 per barrel shortly after the conflict began, with analysts warning of further increases if disruptions continue. Global supply chains are under strain. Petrochemical industries are experiencing shortages. Inflation risks are rising, particularly in energy-dependent economies. Experts warn that the disruption could become the most significant energy crisis in decades, rivaling or even surpassing the oil shocks of the 1970s. The Strait of Hormuz is not just an economic choke point, it is a strategic one. Control over it offers immense leverage over global markets and political negotiations. At the center of the unfolding crisis is the United States President, Donald Trump, who has adopted a hardline stance. He has issued direct warnings to Iran, demanding that the strait be reopened. Open the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours or face consequences. This ultimatum was accompanied by threats of strikes on Iran's power infrastructure, a move that significantly raised the stakes. In response, Iran has not backed down. Instead, it has escalated its warnings. The strait could be completely closed if attacked. Such a move would have catastrophic global consequences. It would halt a significant portion of the world's oil supply overnight, triggering price spikes, supply shortages, and widespread economic disruption. Despite the tension, there have been moments of cautious diplomacy. In one instance, Iran allowed a limited number of oil tankers to pass through the strait, which was described as a goodwill gesture amid ongoing negotiations. Still, these gestures have not resolved the underlying conflict. The situation remains volatile, with both sides continuing military preparations. The United States has increased its military presence in the region, deploying additional troops and equipment. The objective is clear: to ensure the strait remains open and to counter Iran's control. At the same time, regional tensions are expanding. Iran-aligned groups have signaled their willingness to join the conflict, raising the risk of disruption spreading beyond the Strait of Hormuz to other critical shipping routes. The broader implication is a potential multi-front crisis affecting global trade networks. Meanwhile, the international response has been cautious and divided. Some countries are advocating for a multinational naval force to secure the strait, while others are pushing for diplomatic solutions to avoid further escalation. Global markets remain on edge. Oil prices fluctuate with every development. Investors, governments, and industries are all watching closely, aware that the situation could deteriorate rapidly. Even limited disruptions have already caused significant volatility. A complete closure of the strait would trigger an unprecedented economic shock. The Strait of Hormuz has always been a strategic choke point, but in 2026, it has become something more, a symbol of how interconnected and vulnerable the modern world is. Iran's actions reflect a broader shift in global conflict. Control over infrastructure, energy routes, shipping lanes, and supply chains is now as powerful as traditional military force. By controlling access to the strait, Iran is able to influence global oil prices, pressure its adversaries, and shape the course of international diplomacy. This is not just about regional power, it is about global leverage. This is not just economics. This is leverage in a rapidly escalating conflict. As the crisis unfolds, the world faces a critical question. Can this pressure point be stabilized, or will it trigger a wider confrontation? The stakes could not be higher. If the strait closes completely, the consequences will not remain confined to the Middle East. They will ripple across global markets, economies, and everyday lives. Energy prices would surge, supply chains would falter, inflation would rise, governments would face mounting pressure. For now, the strait remains partially open, but under tight control. Shipping continues, but cautiously. Diplomacy continues, but uncertainly. The situation stands at a tipping point. On one side is escalation. On the other, fragile negotiation. Between them lies the Strait of Hormuz, narrow in geography, but vast in consequence.